Welcome back to another edition of the Talking National League podcast, episode 31 it is. And of course, it's on a Friday evening. It's not our usual preview of all the upcoming fixtures. Myself and, of course, Tom Williams will be reacting to our initial National League predictions that we did back in August. It's an opportunity for us to embarrass ourselves, would you say, Tom?
Yeah, mate, I've looked back at some of the predictions I've made and not too great, to be honest.
No, same with us. But I think it's very difficult, isn't it, the National League to predict. I will sort of give something away. You did beat me on getting the exact predictions correct. You got 2, I got 1, and that's exactly correct. But what I will also say is it's extremely tight the league at the moment. So someone could be in 9th, but by the end of the season, they could finish 15th where we put them. But yeah, I think we are most ready to go. Please can I just ask that if you are watching this, please like and subscribe. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the season. Let's try hit that as soon as possible. But yeah, starting things off with 24th. This is a good start. We've underestimated Maidenhead here. We've both extremely underestimated Maidenhead and Alan Devonshire. I'd probably say quite naive by both of us. Yeah, what's your thoughts on this prediction now?
Yeah, well, firstly, obviously, first thanks for having me on, and then secondly, it's I think the original prediction back in like July time or July time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's hard even then to predict. So I'm just sort of covering our own backs there. But for Maidenhead, yeah, look, we're 8. I think is it 8 positions off? We are. Yeah, it's not great for either of us, but they have surpassed expectations. They have done extremely well. They were a side that they've got quite a few young players, and I thought that might work against them in the summer, but it's actually worked for them. Alan Devinshire's done an incredible job, as we know, and they've got loads. I mean, they've probably got 5 or 6 in that team who I think could go on and play in the Football League. And that's great recruitment from them. I think what is not to underestimate is the fact that they could still be dragged into a relegation battle.
I'd agree with that.
They're not going to finish bottom, let's be honest, but they're only 5 points above the drop, I think it is. So they still could be dragged in. So I know it looks bad, and because they had a really strong start, but they are sort of starting to drop off again. So it is a bad prediction, but it probably could have been worse considering the start they had.
Yeah, I just looked at the squad on paper, and I remember when we were talking about it, we were saying there was no one that stood out, and obviously they lost Josh Kelly to Solihull, who was their main source of goals. And this season, there isn't anyone particularly prolific for them, but they just find a way to pull out results against the sides above them in the league table and finish off the sides below them as well in the league table. And that's something what good sides do, whose aim is to survive this season, which it is. And yeah, Maidenhead, although they could be dragged into it, they certainly won't be finishing 24th. And I think a lot of that credit has to go towards Alan Devonshire. Please let us know in the comments your predictions or your reactions to our initial predictions too. But in 23rd, I put Maidstone and I was 1 place off, and you put Yeovil, and I believe they're in, if I'm correct, 17th at the moment.
Yeah.
What's your reaction to being 6 places out with Yeovil?
Yeah, well, first of all, you've done pretty well there. So I think you're actually hard done to not having a correct one there, because obviously before Scunthorpe were brought out, you'd have been spot on with that. So well done to you. And Yeovil, yeah, that's poor. That's one that is really poor. And I stand by it. They don't score many goals, and that was sort of my thinking with them. They even lost Knowles in the summer, and that's what I thought was the final nail in the coffin. But they are a team that is so hard to beat, and so I think they probably are one of the. I'm not being disrespectful by saying this, but they are probably one of the lesser sides in the division. But they know how not to get beat. They've got a fantastic manager now as well. They've added him. I think he is. Cooper's an excellent addition. And they weren't particularly bad under Hargreaves. They just couldn't win many games, but they didn't lose many either. So I think overall, it's not as bad a prediction as it could have been.
Yeah, I'd agree. I remember at the time, I think I questioned you on this, and I said I couldn't see Yeovil finishing that low in the league table. But to be honest, you're not far off with Yeovil at all. Like you mentioned the source of goals. That's something that still been a problem for them this season. And I think it's only been recently where they've sort of pulled away from that relegation battle, which of course they could be seen still in. But yeah, I went with Maidstone. They were 24th. Well, they were 24th. No, 23rd, sorry, for the majority of the season, but Scunthorpe have improved recently, so they've jumped down to 24th at Maidstone. So I'm one place off them at the moment. I honestly think on paper, they probably are the worst side in the division. And I said at the time, it's always talking about making that step up from the National League North. Can you handle that step? It's similar to the Norwich situation where they go to the Premiership, they come straight back down. I could sort of see that sort of scenario with Maidstone because I looked at the squad on paper and that majority of that squad looked National League South level. I think I actually said North, but yeah, it was National League South. I was meant to say earlier. And I think it's one of the only predictions that I've been almost bang on with. And to be honest, I think my point's been proven that they don't have the quality to survive this season. It's nothing against the club. There's just not enough quality there, and they didn't bring enough investment in the summer to survive. I know you've mentioned, Tom, on one of your Twitter posts about Maidstone having good business in January, but would you say it's too late for them?
I would say for none of the teams it's too late. But they are probably the one that you look at and you see them start to slip away, maybe. And I think you're right. To be honest with you, I've looked back on that, Fred, and maybe I've rated them a little bit too highly in the transfer window because, yeah, maybe you're right. It is a little bit too little too late. I think they've been unlucky. I don't know what's happened with Johan Luque for them. He was probably their key player last season. He hasn't played at all this year, but he's still at the club. So I don't know. I think he's been injured, but I'm not sure if he, if he's been a long-term injury or he's just fallen out of favour. I don't know. They did seem to pick up a little bit under Alakobi when he was given the job, sort of interim basis. But yeah, I don't like to write teams off, but I was completely wrong about them at the start of the season, and I think you might be right. It might be too little, too late.
Yeah. Moving on to 22nd, then. You said Dorking and I said Wealdstone. Yeah, not too good from my perspective at all. And I even mentioned them having good investment. But I think it's another one where I underestimate the manager once again. But I had this theory at the start of the season that the part-time teams were going to struggle this season. And it's totally backfired. Altrincham had them. Well, Altrincham obviously went into the full-time module, and that's why I put them a little higher. But Wealdstone, Maidenhead, these are part-time sides. I all said they would finish extremely low in the relegation zone because I thought the league standards obviously improving, a lot more sides going into the full-time module, and I thought the part-time teams would slightly fall away this season, but it's totally come back to bite me, to be brutally honest on this. So yeah, 12 places out I was on this one, which is, I think it's probably the worst prediction. There may be one later on that might come to prove me wrong. Yeah, there's actually one that's worse. But obviously, Tom, you said Dorking, and at the start of the season, you were looking a little silly, but recently they are still above there. But I think it's a question of, you wouldn't be surprised if they did finish 22nd the way they are playing at the moment. Teams are finally seeming to find them out.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because I was looking very silly, and I was, I remember, I think someone even might have pointed out to me that I'd made that prediction, and also just seeing them do so well, I thought, oh yeah, I completely wrote them off. But you're right, they've started to sink, and they are sinking fast. And I've got a lot of time for talking. I've got a lot of time for their fans. I know a few, friends of mine, and when I went down there for the game, it was a great club, and I want to see them do well. But and I think they've done the right thing recently with signings. I think they still need maybe a defender or two, but he's not going to change the way he plays, my white, and he likes to play attacking football. They've got the goals in their team to stay up. It's just they concede so many goals. Like, they concede a ridiculous amount of goals. I think they've conceded the most in the division that they have. And you're right, I would not be surprised to see them finish 22nd now, to be honest, the way they're playing. But I hope I'm wrong. But from a prediction point of view, I wouldn't say I'm glad they've dropped off. I would have rather been proven wrong, but at least I don't look as silly as I did, because at the start of the season it was looking like they could be pushed for playoffs even. So yeah.
Yeah, the next one then we've got Gateshead. This is the one prediction that we've both got correctly at the since the start of the season. We've both agreed on Gateshead at the start of the season to finish in the relegation zone in exactly 21st place. And that's where they currently sit at the moment. Yeah, what's your take on this?
Yeah, I think we both got it. We both got it right, and I think we both had similar thoughts on it. They lost both their key strikers, and when you lose both your key forwards that have got you 50 goals, and you don't really replace them, you're asking for trouble. I think that was the biggest issue. They didn't really replace him in the summer. They went and got Danny Elliott in January on loan. He scored loads of goals, and all of a sudden the results started turning around, and you think, well, I know it's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy to replace a striker that scores 30 goals and another one that scores 25. I'm not saying that, but they didn't. They bought in. I know they got Lewis Knight from us, on sort of part of the deal on the way back. He barely played any football, so to me they didn't make maybe I don't know behind the scenes. Maybe they made a massive effort to bring a striker in, but they've got the lad from Altrincham now, Marcus. Yeah. They've got him in. He could get some goals for them, but and they're playing better now. They're a side that are on the up. So while we've got it right now, that they would be one of the ones I would say out of the bottom four that could get out as it stands, because they are, at least they're going for it attacking wise.
Yeah, they could prove us wrong, and I think it's very frustrating if I was a Gateshead fan. You lose. Obviously, Langstaff and Sedwin Scott at the start of the season. It's so hard to find a proven goal scorer at this level. We all know that at any club that you might, Chesterfield are having that problem at the moment. But when you do finally find that replacement in Danny Elliott, which I thought was some great bit of business, and he scores a fair few goals for them during that period that he has, then gets recalled and then goes, of course, to Scunthorpe. It is very frustrating from a Gateshead fan, because it does prove that Gateshead's main issue is the fact that they don't score enough goals. They like to keep a lot of possession, they create a lot of chances, but they haven't got a proven goal scorer, and that's something that they did have for that short period of time. And I just can't see them finding another goal scorer, unfortunately, from Gateshead's perspective. Otherwise, they probably would survive, but I think there's a lot of sides above them and even below them that are improving at the moment, Scunthorpe being another side. And I just think, unfortunately, from Gateshead's perspective, I just think without having that goal score, and this they could prove us wrong, I think Gateshead will be going back down to the National League North. The next one is, you actually did quite well on this one. You put Scunthorpe in 20th, and I know it doesn't sound too good considering they're 23rd, but at the start of the season, not many of us predicted Scunthorpe to have as bad of a season as they did, and you weren't far off. I said Eastleigh in 20th. Yeah, another bad one from me. What's your take on the Scunthorpe prediction?
Yeah, well, I don't think I'm too far off with my prediction with Eastleigh. I don't think I had them too many places higher, so I don't think it's too bad. But Scunthorpe, yeah. To be honest, I sort of put them in the relegation zone. I'm glad now, because I can say, I had them down there, but not quite to get down. I do think they'll stay up now. They've had the takeover. The momentum seems to be with them. Everything seems to be behind them now, which obviously I'm made up for them. I think it's brilliant. They've got investment. They've brought in some. I think they brought in some good players. Maybe not the best players, but they brought in Danny Elliott, very, very good, and then the supporting cast around him. Sembi Ferris looks pretty good, and a few of the others, Shields as well. I'm not surprised that they were down there, because when I looked at their squad, I basically just based it purely on the fact that they had a manager who hadn't won something like 3 games in however many it was, and secondly because they had a squad on paper, it looked awful, and that has been proven to be right. Like it did look like a substandard National League squad, and that's all I based it on. So it looks like I was proven right, but I think they will stay up now.
Yeah, and I think also from my prediction on Eastleigh's one that was, I think, not too good at all, to be honest. And you put them in 19th. We'll come on to that in a second, but it was looking like with Eastleigh, at the start of the season, the owner talks about gambling issues. that seems to have faded away from their perspective. I also looked at Eastleigh's squad, and they were just no one that stood out to me. You know, the players that they'd lost as well, Howie Pritchard being another name, another player that, of course, they'd lost too. But to be fair to Eastleigh, they've proven me wrong. They've got a good side there. Alfie Lloyd, a youngster that's coming through on loan, he seems to be, been brilliant for them in recent weeks. Danny Whitehall, Charlie Carter. What Eastleigh are is a really hard side to beat. They're well organised, hard to break down, and at home they have one of the best home records in the division. So Eastleigh, if you're looking at Eastleigh at the moment in 9th place, they could break into the playoffs. They just need to be a little more consistent and win games on a more frequent basis away from home. Because I think if it was on their away form this season, I believe they are actually 19th in the table on away form at the moment. But yeah, Eastleigh, you've proven me wrong. Lee Bradbury, I didn't have too much faith in him at the start of the season. He's another manager that's proven me wrong. And yeah, like I said, I think Eastleigh, they'll have no concerns of relegation, and probably on a more positive note, potentially breaking into the playoffs come the end of the season if they carry on how they're doing. Now, you said Eastleigh in 90th, and I've put Dorking in 19th too. Yeah, why did you put Eastleigh in 19th?
Well, pretty much for the same reasons that you've said there. I won't go too much into detail for what you've said. I mean, you're right. There wasn't really a standout player, and I think where I made the mistake was that there are quite a few standout defensive players for Eastleigh, but perhaps not quite as many standout offensive players. I think in the final third they do sometimes lack that star player, and that's not really to their detriment at times. They are very much a team that play as a team, as you said, and at home they are excellent. I think it might have changed now, but they were the 4th best side at home, and until recently they were the worst side away. They hadn't even they might have won one away, or they hadn't won one for ages away at home, and that's what's been their downfall, because at home they are extremely well drilled. They make the game tough, as you said. And I think they've got quite another side. They've got quite a few good young defenders. Brennan Camp at right back, for example, excellent defender. And they're a side that I think can get into the playoffs. You're right. I really do believe they could get into the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Dorking at the start of the season, another one, they seem to be proving me wrong even in 19th, were higher mid-table. Mark White once again doing a great job at Dorking. A lot of goals they were scoring, but recently that form's dipped, and I put it across the teams have found them out. Dorking's main aim is this season being just to outscore opposition. They have that never say die attitude, all the good attributes that you need to have on the forward front. But defensively, they're shaky. Mark White's even put it. He's mentioned that, I think since I did that interview with him, that defensively they're not good, and that needs to be rectified very quickly. We're now in mid-February, nothing's changed, and that seems to be the problem, because sides are knowing how to play against Dorking now. They know that the main threat is going forward, but defensively you can exploit them. And obviously Dorking do keep a lot of the ball, but other teams, they're also known to be caught on the counter-attack, and obviously defensively they're very, very shaky at the moment. I honestly feel, I'm not trying to be big-headed here, but I think come the end of the season, Dorking, this could be almost spot on. The only thing I will say is the sides below them, even in their current position now, which I believe is 20th. So you are 20th. I think they are at the moment 20th. So that's another prediction that's correct for you at the moment. But sides that are even further below than them, they're also improving. Scunthorpe, like you've mentioned, Gateshead, another side that, although they've lost that striker, they seem to have found this slight bit of rhythm now. And if they can find another goal scorer, I think Gateshead could pull out of it too. So yeah, from a Dorking's perspective, I would be very, very concerned. And I think the only motto you could say, maybe from a Dorking fan's perspective, is in Mark White we trust, because Dorking have never been relegated in their history before since they've reformed, and he'll be hoping not to have the same situation now. So yeah, I think at the end of the season this could become correct. I think Dorking will survive purely because of the manager. I think they'll find some way to sort it out, but they need to very quickly sort out this issue on the defensive side of things as well. Like I've mentioned, goal scoring. They need to get back to outscoring teams, because recently they're also not scoring that many goals in recent weeks either. Moving on to the next one, then we are going to 18th. You put Oldham. This was also, in my opinion, a really good prediction from your perspective. And I said Yeovil, and that's not too far out at the moment either. So these aren't the worst predictions in the world. I honestly feel come the end of the season, either of these could be spot on. Yeah, what's your take on this?
Yeah, well, I think you've done really well. Yeah, but I think that could be about where they finish come the end of the season. I think 18th is about right for them. So I think, kudos to you. And as for Oldham, they're another side that I based it purely on the strength of the squad. I mean, now I think they've got a really, really good squad. I think, but we'll get onto that in a second. At the start of the season, I thought their squad was pretty poor. And I did think, that they could have been in trouble with relegation. I thought they'd have a little bit too much. And they'd have the investment to do that. I think that's sort of what's panned out. I mean, they've signed that many players. I think they've got 50-odd players. I mean, it's crazy the amount of players they do have. And they've actually got some really, really good players. I mean, they've got players, Nuttall, Reed up front, Abraham as well. They've got John Rooney in the attacking areas. I'm definitely forgetting some attacking players there, but they have got some real talents. So it does surprise me they are where they are, considering the strength of the team now. I know I predicted them to finish 18th, but I'm talking about now. I think they're underachieving, and I think they might, if they keep the momentum they've got. I'm not 100% sold on the manager, but if they can keep them playing how they are, I think they might even finish higher than this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Yeovil, from my perspective, just a bit on Yeovil. Like you mentioned, they don't score enough goals. That's proven to be a correct statistic this season from Yeovil's side of things. They've only scored 25 goals all season. I believe, if I'm correct, only Halifax have actually... Oh, no, I think they do actually have the worst attack in the division at the moment. But defensively, they're very, very strong. And that might be what keeps them up, recently as well. Their form has improved. They've become a lot more consistent, in my opinion, picking up points against sides below them in the table, which is crucial. Sides such as taking 4 points off Torquay over the Christmas period, beating Dagenham away from home, drawing to Wealdstone, Maidstone. I honestly think there's enough there for Yeovil to survive. I think they're probably just outside at the moment of that relegation battle. However, they could easily fall back into it. But I think at the moment, the way they're going against teams below them in the league, they will have enough to survive. Next then, moving on to 17th. This is a bit of I won't say a shocker from you, considering I can't really talk on some of mine so far. But yeah, not one of the best predictions from you. 7 places out, but I think that slightly flatters you, to be honest. And then I've gone Aldershot in 17th. Yeah, why did you put Maidstone at the start of the season in 17th?
Yeah, well, I was completely wrong about them, to be honest. I thought they would make the step up. I thought they'd make the step up a bit easier than they have. And I've actually spoken out of putting them any higher when I spoke to a few people about my thoughts going into the season. I had them a little bit higher, and people were a bit surprised by that. And it maybe question it and step back and think a little bit. Obviously, they've had a change of manager now. I do really like Maidstone as a club. And I think they've got some great managerial staff. For whatever reason, it hasn't worked out for them. I think last season they were physically one of the stronger sides. And I think this season they've sort of found out the step up. And they're not as strong as they were. They've, as I mentioned before, they lost Johan Luque, the attacker, and they just haven't seemed anywhere near good enough, to be honest. And when you look at the team on paper now, you look at sort of the strikers they've got, they haven't really got a standout name there. Even in the attack, I mean, Rory Deakin's been pretty good, a bit under the radar, but all in all, I think they are in trouble. I think you've said it already. I think they could be one for the drop. If you had to make predictions again now, they would be one I would be putting right.
It's my easiest prediction at the moment to say Maidstone will go down. I do apologise because usually when I talk about Maidstone, it's always on the negative note saying they are going to go down. And I do know we have a few Maidstone fans that do tune in, one that's also tuning in tonight as well too. But I just can't see the quality. I can't see anything going forward. They also concede a lot of goals. And to be honest, yeah, I think they're the one side for me so far this season that I can say, yep, they're definitely going down. Aldershot then. They were in 17th for the majority of the first half of the season, and then recently, knowing my luck, they've improved. I've always seen Aldershot at the start of the season, thought that's a good side on paper. I've even said now I think they were underperforming with the quality on show that they did have. Glover, Innie Effingham, who's obviously recently just departed from them to join Dagenham. I honestly feel that this is probably going to be proven wrong. I think Aldershot are currently 13th in the league table. It'll be in and around there where they finish come the end of the season. I don't think they have what it takes to break into the playoffs. But the main issue from Aldershot's perspective is they're not consistent enough. You know, you look at some of the results they've pulled off this season. Going to Solihull, yes, Solihull haven't been as much as a fortress at home in recent weeks, but still getting a result there. Bromley picking points up against them, beating sides like Dorking at home. I think, you know, they're crucial games as well for them. I think, yeah, Aldershot, from my perspective, definitely have enough to be in no trouble of falling into that relegation trap. Well, they are currently in 13th. I wouldn't be surprised if they finished in higher mid-table. They've got some great individuals. I think the manager now, in obviously Ross McNeely, a manager, I think having that stability within the squad in recent weeks too. I think Aldershot will be fine this season. A nice, decent season, have a good end to the season, and then next season, hopefully, improve on and push further up the league table. Because if they can keep this squad together, I think in the upcoming seasons, they're on to something good, because got Cordner, Glover, another player that's there who are highly rated too. Justin Amaluza, another player that I really like as well. Tommy Willard. A lot of good players there from Aldershot. Obviously, the one disappointing thing was losing Innie Effingham, and this may be the only factor I could say where my prediction does come out to be true come the end of the season, because they've lost a hell of a lot of goals in a prolific goal scorer like Innie Effingham, who's departed to join Dagenham. So yeah, I think not too bad of a prediction from myself there. It could prove to be correct come the end of the season, but yeah, I'd be expecting Aldershot to finish a little higher. The next one, yeah, not too good from either of us. I did not expect Torquay to be in their current position at all. Maybe it was a bit naive and arrogant thinking, oh no, Torquay are too big of a club to go down this season. That's probably what I thought, where look at the squad on paper, it is probably down there. And I think the problem with Torquay is they're simply not good enough to be in this current position at the moment. So they're underperforming. They don't have the calibre of players to be, you know, in mid-table. And I do remember saying when I did this prediction, I do apologise to Torquay fans who are watching, because you'll be wanting to do even better than this. I think they'd happily be in 14th at the moment. Yeah, what's your take on this prediction?
I don't think you could have said it any better, to be honest, mate. You summed it up perfectly. I think that I did the exact same. I wanted to put them lower based on the quality of their team, and I should have done that like I did with Scunthorpe and Oldham. But I just thought Gary Johnson, Torquay, they're always up there. I can't put them down there in the relegation zone. I should have done. Their team is not good enough. Their players are not good enough. And I think the signings in the summer were poor. And I said that, and people sort of was very excited about this young sort of intake of rebuild sort of vibe they had going on. It just didn't work, and the players they put in weren't good enough, considering the players they lost as well. I mean, some of those have gone to play League One straight away. So yeah, I hold my hands up though. Got it wrong because I put them too high. So I should have just gone more strongly with my gut feeling that they were going to be, you know, down there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know there's talks about them surviving this season, and I wouldn't be surprised if they do. They've improved in recent weeks. They're currently 22nd in the league. In fact, I think if they do win their next game against Barnet tomorrow, well, no, it's actually in the FA Trophy. I do apologise for that. When they do, well, no, they're actually playing Barnet the following week. But if they do pick up points against Barnet, which is unlikely, they would come out of the relegation zone. I look at the upcoming fixtures, though. Barnet home, Dorking away, Southend, Bromley. These are all really difficult games. At the moment, I look at the sides around them and I'd be saying Torquay are going to go down. They're another side I really don't want to go down, but I just don't think there's enough there for them to survive, and simply not effort, Not that they're underperforming like other sides that are around them, like Oldham and Scunthorpe. It's simply because they don't have the quality to survive. And I think this has to come down to the recruitment. I remember you saying at the start of the season, I think Torquay were down there with some of the worst recruitment in the division at the start of the season. It was a massive gamble with the youngsters that they brought in. No one proven, could have come off, but it simply hasn't. And they're simply not good enough for the National League, this calibre of players at the moment. So, yeah, unfortunately, we've both been terribly wrong on this. And I wouldn't be surprised if Torquay do go down. Do apologise because I haven't read the chat tonight, so I'll swiftly go through that. We've had someone who's come in. Who gets promoted this year? Just curious what you guys think. We'll answer that towards the end of the video. We've had almost got Wrexham, but not ending up with points. We'll come back to the chat very, very soon. I do apologise for that, but we are trying to get through this as quick as possible. The next one we've got, you've put Halifax in 13th, and I've put Barnet in 13th as well. You're not too bad with Halifax. I have to say, I wouldn't be surprised if we finished there come the end of the season. This is another bad prediction from my perspective. Yeah, why did you put Halifax in 13th?
Yeah, man. Well, I thought you lost your manager, so you had a playoff hangover as well. And I think when those combined, it's always going to be a struggle this season. I didn't really envisage you having the tough start that you had. I thought you might have had a better start under Millington, and I think he was lucky to keep his job for as long as for a while. Obviously, I know he's doing well now, so better now. I think they've proved to be the correct decision. But I think no one could have had complaints at points of this season if he'd have gone. And I think, to be honest, I just was a bit underwhelmed with the summer business. I know you brought in Manny Diasarovway. Definitely said that wrong, but I know you brought
you're almost correct. You just pronounced the V when you shouldn't have. But fair play to that. That wasn't too bad.
Good, decent effort. I think it's the first time I've actually had the guts to go for it. But yeah, I know he brought him in as a goal scorer, his goal scoring form. But I think overall it's been uninspiring. I'm excited to see how Fidel O'Rourke, I think that's it, his name. I'm excited to see how he gets on. And I think that they'll finish around 13th, to be honest. I think you'll finish around 13th.
Yeah, and I'd still say that'd be a disappointing season, but I can't see us finishing any higher than 13th. It's very disappointing because, and I don't want to talk too much about Halifax because I'll be in my own world and I could go on for 2 hours about our current position, but it's very disappointing how we got back after a terrible start to the season into a position, almost breaking into the playoffs, and then we've had this poor run of form, and it's simply been because of injuries. Our midfield must be made of glass because Spence, Summerfield, Warburton all out. Jamie Cook being a source of goals for us this season's now injured. There's too many players that are injured, and it's something that we've always had issues with. Last season, we were quite fortunate not to have too many significant injuries. But this season, it's been the problem. And simply the recruitment that we made at the start of the season hasn't been good enough. Players such as Minihan and Keane, I wouldn't say don't look interested, but they just seem a little not committed enough, in my opinion. And maybe I'm wrong in saying that, and maybe I'm not correct to say that. But yeah, that's the only words I can really sum up for it. We haven't replaced the players from the previous campaign, and I think there are questions around Millington. Fans are still saying Millington out. I'm not going to comment on that because I don't think it's needed. We know that he's staying until the end of the season because we're not going to go down. We're not going to get in the playoffs, and our chairman's not going to sack a manager to bring in a new manager when he'd have to pay out, obviously, his contract still because he's on a 2-year contract. Like I'm saying, I'm waffling now. We could go on for 2 hours talking about Halifax. So I'll talk a little bit more about them when we do get on to them. But I went for Barnet, totally wrong with this. I looked at players like Kabamba and I said, he's not prolific. I looked at other players too around the squad, and there were no one that stood out to me. But I was terribly wrong. I also mentioned that they brought in a lot of players, and I said, well, it's going to take a long time for them to adjust. They adjusted on the opening day and defeated us at home and looked a quality side. So, yeah, Barnet currently is 5th in the league, and 4th in the league, in fact, at the moment, in a very, very good position, scoring a lot of goals, a lot better defensively. And that hasn't seemed to be a problem, than bringing in a large amount of players, because they're currently in a very, very strong position. And I do apologise to Barnet fans because I was Not very correct on this at all. But yeah, we had someone who came in the chat who's a Wrexham fan from America. Welcome to the live stream from America. Please remember to like and subscribe to anyone that's also watching. I am an American fan who has watched It's Always Sunny Always Sunny for 20 years. Yep. Welcome to the live stream. We've got don't show that actually. 12th. Yeah, 12th one now at the moment. You said York. That wasn't too bad until they sacked John Askey. So you have to blame Henderson, who's the York chairman, for that. And I said Oldham, which isn't too great at all. But yeah, why did you put York in 12th? And could they still potentially finish in 12th?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I'm actually quite happy with this because I think people at the start of the season, I know they're a lot lower down, but maybe I was swayed by people they were quite excited about York. They did have some very, very good, strong business. They had a really good manager who they got rid of, which is still got to be the worst decision of any club, I think, this season, footballing wise, like really poor. And people were getting a bit carried away. They were putting them sort of. I think I'm not having to dig anyone. I'm pretty sure most people had them in and around the playoffs because there's always a side that do well that have come up. But for me, I just questioned if they would gel all the new signings, and to be honest with you, they did gel quite quickly. But as you say, baffling decision to get rid of them, and they could be dragged into trouble. I think if they get him back, which is they might. I know they're linked with Ian Birchland as well. So if they get a good manager in, they should be fine because they have got some good players.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on that. And I think it doesn't help the players' morale when you've got fans that are obviously throwing tennis balls, banners on the pitch. It's a bit toxic at York, and I don't blame York fans for doing it. Everyone's got a right to protest. I'd probably do it in the same situation, but what it won't help the players. And I think, they're facing the after effects of John Askey leaving the club, and all those questions about the owners did fade away this season when they got promoted, but they've come rushing back now. And Oldham are going through, York, are going through a few difficulties off the field and on the field at the moment. They currently sit 18th in the league table, very inconsistent at the moment, very out of form. So if they do get a bit of form and a bit of momentum until the end of the season, I think they will be fine. And I still think they're going to be fine. Too big of a club to go down. I said that about Torquay, though, didn't I, at the start of the season? But yeah, York, I think they'll be fine. And yeah, I put them moving on to 11th, if I've got it up here. Yeah, we do. There we go. Yeah, I put York in 11th. So similar positions. I basically said they didn't have enough quality to break into the playoffs. No real prolific goal scoring. I think that's something you need if you're wanting to be in and around the playoffs. But on paper, they were a good side at the start of the season. This was looking good for the first 15, 16 games. And then obviously all the issues happened. And ever since, York have fallen down the table. I don't think they'll finish 11th come the end of the season now. You said Barnet, though, slightly better than me, but another one which has been proven wrong slightly. Well, not slightly.
Yeah, well, quite. Yeah, so another one I did because I did think their recruitment was very strong. But to be honest with you, I thought their strongest two signings, probably two signings that haven't done as well. I thought Diarra from Woking was great business. I know he scored the week, but he's not really fit in there. And I thought Ben Winter at right back, and he took a long time to impress their fans. I think they're on side of him now. Could be wrong, but they have got an unbelievable team, and I completely, underestimated them. If I'm honest, I think everyone has. They're definitely one of the surprise packages of this season. Right up there, got a really good chance of going up. Dean Brennan has got something special going on there. He's got a great group of players, even on paper. To be fair, look at that team, the amount of quality they have got. It's perhaps no surprise they're up there, but didn't maybe expect it from Dean Brennan. He's been brilliant. He's brought in the right players, and they are the team at the minute. If one of the top two didn't go up, you would guess Barnet or Woking, wouldn't you? I think at the minute, but maybe Barnet. The form they're in is outstanding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd agree with that. And yeah, Barnet, they're out of the side in the playoffs. I think, if you work to go towards, obviously who comes second, you could see them a bit of a dark horse like Grimsby were in the playoffs, but they're on brilliant form at the moment. They start the season well, had a bit of pouring of form, losing Mason Clark. I think everyone was saying, "Oh, here we go again. Barnet going to fall off and become finish mid-table like we predicted, but they found that run of form, and ever since they look like a really, really good side. Obviously played Halifax on Tuesday. Quite an even game, but the difference was they took the chances away from home and they got the job done. And whatever you say about Halifax at the moment, it's always a difficult place to go, Halifax. We've had a fairly good home form this season. Barnet hadn't actually beaten us at the Shea since 2004. So that tells you everything that you need to know about this Barnet side. It's full of goals. It's a lot better defensively. And it's got a good manager at the helm. So, yeah, I personally feel that Barnet will finish in the playoffs. I think there's 7 points? I think they're in the playoffs at the moment. So they should, finish in the playoffs. Might even break into the top 3. I'm sure that's something that at the moment they'll be inspiring to do.
It's 12 points. They've got 12 points. I was checking now.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. I got that wrong then. Doesn't get any better for us though. We both agreed, but we were both incorrect. We put Woking in 10th, and we both mentioned that they were one of the better sides with recruitment wise. And something that I said, which was foolish, and do I really need to bring it up? I said losing Ini Effingham and replacing it with Padraig Amond won't work. I said Padraig Amond, he's 34 years of age, and I said that although he's been prolific previously, he won't be this season. I totally misjudged this. I totally didn't look at other players that they've brought in as well. And yeah, it's proven me wrong. They're a really, really good side. Darryl Sarl, in my opinion, is manager of the year at the moment, based off the budget difference between them and the likes of Notts, Chesterfield and Wrexham. Really, really strong manager. And I think it shows that Woking do have a source of finance behind them with bringing in the likes of Reece Brown, stealing him from Wealdstone, who also a playoff contender at the time. So yeah, Woking a really good side. They are currently 3rd in the league table at the moment. Beat Chesterfield away from home. Didn't only defeat them, but beat them by 3-1. That's a big statement, in my opinion. And I think Woking, they will also be a side wanting to break into the top 3 at the moment. Yeah, why did you put Woking in 10th?
Yeah, I have to agree with you. Their recruitment was excellent, and the big reason was because they lost Effiong. I thought that him going, he had so many goals for them. Losing him would be hurtful to them, and it hasn't been. They've had goals from all over the pitch, but they've had 3 or 4 players who can score goals, and they added another one in Brown as well. And they have a very underrated side. You look at them, Darren Sarll's done a great job with them, and I agree. He could be manager of the season. But I think if you look at their players, they've got so many underrated players. Rowan Ince, he'd probably get into most teams in this league. Yeah. Scott Cuthbert at centre back has been excellent for them. A leader, experience. Casey at left back, underrated left back. Experienced, a leader. And as you said, Amond, Brown, Gregor Cox, Something Daly. I'm just naming all their players now. Not particularly great for me, but I was just trying to say, they have got real talent. And again, just like I said, Barnet, you would back them to cause an upset in the playoffs. I think you would.
Yeah, we have had football with our gran in the chat. It'd be great to see some of your vlogs coming back very, very soon. He's questioned me on this. Hi, Luke. Sarll, manager of the year. Woking have a top 6 budget. We have the lowest budget in the top 14. I did also mention that they couldn't compete with the likes of Wrexham, Notts, and Chesterfield on that. That's who I was meaning to compare with. But yeah, Barnet, I totally agree with that. Dean Brennan, another candidate for manager of the year. Yeah, I think he'd also be a strong contender of what he's done so far. He's another manager who I highly rate, like I mentioned, and a really good squad down at Barnet at the moment. I'll quickly just add 9th place to the stream. There we go. Should be there now. I put Halifax in 9th, and you put Altrincham in 9th. Altrincham slightly below that at the moment. Halifax in 15th at the moment too. Altrincham had a terrible start to the season, didn't they? Looking like my prediction were going to be a lot more accurate than yours. Then they had that run of form in the league where they went unbeaten for, I think, was it since December all the way to February? It might have even been longer than that. Really good side. And your prediction was looking likely, but obviously, and I'll allow you to talk a bit more about this, but they lost 5 key players And I think that might be the reason why your prediction might not be accurate come the end of the season.
Yeah, I'll be honest, mate. I don't think I've got any chance of getting that prediction now, and that's not really a slight on Altrincham. I love Altrincham as a club. The way they run, the manager, the style of play. I think everything about it is brilliant, and you've seen that from the players they've brought in, developed, and moved on. Cole Clough, Malarkey, they've developed Con Clark. I know he's gone back now, and obviously Newby and Jennings, all these players that they've, and a lot of them obviously are good players, but they've just been brought on an extra level by Phil Parkinson, the bold Phil Parkinson. And I just think they're a great club, but I think, as you said, lost those 5 key players, probably their 5 best players. I just can't see it now, unfortunately. So I think this prediction might have come true had they kept their group of players together.
I will give you credit. You weren't to know that Altrincham are going to lose this amount of players. This might be another reason going full time. I wouldn't say it's backfired because I think long term it's a good thing, Altrincham, and even the players they brought in was a reason for this. But would they have lost these players if they didn't go full time? Because obviously they still would have been part time. I don't know. It's all in hindsight now, isn't it? But yeah, to lose 5 players in the transfer window and them being crucial players too is never going to turn out good. And I think, unfortunately, and unlucky from your perspective, it won't be accurate come the end of the season. However, they could still got a good manager still at the helm, but yeah, I think it's highly unlikely they will finish 9th now. And do apologise to Altrincham fans because of what's happened there too. 8th, we've both agreed on this. We're 1 place off at the moment. I think Bournemouth are currently 7th in the league table. We always expect them to be high up the table. Like we've said, another manager that's highly rated at this level, proven it time and time again, season after season. Luke Garrard, good squad there. But 8th, we said at the start of the season, they're currently 7th. This could become accurate, couldn't it?
Yeah, I think we'll be right, or in and around. If they got 7th or 6th, I think it's only 6th or 7th really to play for now, playoffs wise. I think top 5 for me are nailed on. If they got 6th or 7th, I wouldn't be shocked. But also at the same time, they finish 8th or 9th, I wouldn't be shocked. They're going to be in and around there. They're quite a patchy team. They seem to go on a run of a few wins, and you think, oh, they're pushing into the playoffs now, and then they'll drop off and they'll be 12th again, and then they'll be back up to the playoffs. So they're going to finish top half. In and around there, they might sneak a playoff place, and who knows? In the playoffs, they're a tough team to beat, and they could cause some upsets there. And they've got a little bit of quality to them, so I think we've not done too badly with this one.
No, I don't think we have at all. And like I've said, all well-drilled side. I think come the end of the season, they could finish 8th or they could finish in the playoffs, but it'd be in and around there, in my opinion. Still, 7th, we both put Dagenham. Dagenham's problem is they're not consistent enough. Like they've proven, they can compete with the top sides on a financial side of things. They've just signed Innie Effingham. Obviously, Paul McCallum's gone on loan to Chesterfield. Good side. Like I've mentioned, the only issue is they're not consistent enough.
Yeah, and I think we're going to be. I don't think they're going to get 7th. I think they'll finish in and around 10th, 11th, 12th, where they are now. But I don't think we were too wrong for predicting it. I don't think we could have predicted how inconsistent they've been. I think the manager is another one that's been lucky at times to have kept his job. I think that this is not no disrespect to him. I do think maybe another manager might have got them into a better position because they have got a good budget. They are well backed. Yes, they've lost McCallum and Walker in January, February, early February. I know they've lost them, but I think Effiong looks like a better signing now that McCallum's gone. Because I did think before he went, you've got 2 big forwards there. How do you fit them both in? So I think now McCallum's gone, Effiong looks like a better signing. And I do think they have got the better out of that deal. I think he will score them goals. He's in form. He's got like 14 or something goals like that, 14, 15 goals. So you never know. He might fire them into the playoffs, but I think they'll miss out.
Massive statement signing in the Effingham and losing McCallum. To be honest, I don't see it as that big of a loss with bringing in Effingham. Like you've mentioned, I think they have got the better side of the deal because Paul McCallum's been injury prone throughout the season, and even him coming back into the side, is he still going to be the same player? It takes time for a player to bed back into a side, and that might be the issue with him at Chesterfield. But obviously, Chesterfield are crucial to find some source of goals or a target man as such. But Inny Effiong, a striker I highly rate. The only issues there is he's a little inconsistent at different sides. He didn't have the best spell there. But you look at his time at the likes of Dover, previously obviously Aldershot as well, being a really, really good striker. And I think it will come off at Dagenham. I think it is his sort of playing style, his sort of team, but other players as well. Junior Marias, Angelo Balanto, another player. Full of quality in my opinion, that Dagenham side. They just need to be a lot more consistent, especially against the sides near the bottom of the league table, losing to the likes of Yeovil and Oldham, who are down and around the relegation zone at the moment. So yeah, if they can be a little bit more consistent, and I think it might be an issue of breaking sides down near the bottom, I think Dagenham could come true. But at the moment, I'd say no, purely on the fact that they aren't consistent enough. The next one we have is 6th place, and I believe you got this spot on with Southend. They're 6th at the moment. I put Bromley at 6th there. I think they're currently just outside the playoffs at the moment. Yeah, 8th at the moment. Just on the topic of Southend, obviously what's happening there. We had a Southend fan come in the chat earlier tonight saying Martin out. Yeah, we stand with you on that. It's horrible at the moment, no matter rivalry in football or anything like that. It's not nice to see a side like Southend in the current crisis that they're in. But I think if you're a Southend's fan, you have to have a large amount of respect for what the players are doing on the field at the moment. 6th place in the league table, competing with some of the stronger sides in the division, and yet they're not getting paid. Southend may go out of business on the 1st of March if nothing changes ASAP. Yeah, but they're doing very, very well at the moment, Southend. Yeah, what's your take on Southend's current position?
Yeah, mate, I think you're spot on. We're standing with them. You know, I do really feel for them, the fans. It's a horrible situation, and I think you're spot on about the players. They're doing and the manager doing an admirable job there. I mean, all the things that are going on off the pitch, they could easily. No one would hold it against them if they'd folded, and not performed. So the fact that they've been up for the fight, all the players to at least please the fans that are backing them, I think it's been brilliant. And I think I've probably gone a bit lucky that I've got them 6th, to be fair, because it looked at times like they were going to be that 3rd, 4th team. They did look at one point where they looked like they were going to be part of that pack at the top, but they look like they could be the best. The rest, I think, in a season where off the field issues aren't there, this team's a lot better. Obviously, that is going to affect them, but I'll back them to get playoffs. Hopefully, assuming everything gets resolved.
Another side that don't have any prolific goal scoring, that might be an issue for them, but all round a really good side. The only issue as well is they're not consistent enough. Well, I wouldn't say consistent. They have the odd slip up here and there. Eastleigh, they lost to. Bromley, they lost to. Aldershot, Gateshead, all sides that you'd be expecting to be in their current position at the moment. Even further back, you've got the likes of Torquay earlier on in the season. I think that was, if I remember rightly, was that the first game of third game.
You want the second? It was early on. Definitely.
It was early on in the season, but they lost to Torquay, who obviously aren't doing too well themselves either. Boreham Wood, that was the opening day of the season. I remember that, and they lost to Boreham Wood there too. So yeah, I think a lot of it is down to the current issues at the club. But like I've said, if they finish 6th at the end of the season, or even finish just outside the playoffs, be an incredible job done by the Southend team. And let's hope that Southend can make it until the end of the season. Bromley, though, 8th at the moment. They're always 6th, they're 5th, they're 6th, 7th, 8th. Sometimes might even fall lower down at the moment. But a good side, strong side, hard to beat. Cheek, more Marriott's been more the story this season for them. And I don't think it's just around those two strikers. I think defensively, Sawamyu, a centre-half that I highly rate, one of the better centre-halves in the division at the moment. It's full of quality and it's a well-drilled side, in my opinion, Bromley. Would I say they'd finish 6th if I was to do a revised prediction? I'd probably say just outside the relegation zone, just outside the playoffs at the moment. But yeah, I think, I wouldn't say it's off the cards finishing 6th come the end of the season, but I think the sides around them at the moment, I think, are just slightly stronger than them. But they're a good side down at Bromley, and I think they have a good manager in Andy Woodman, although he's quite a controversial man with some of the interviews he's done recently. I think a lot of people, the most hated manager in non-league might be the correct term for him. Chesterfield fans will agree with me on that, at least. Next, we've got fifth. I've gone to Southend. I don't think we'll really need to say much more on them. They're sixth at the moment. Could finish fifth. It's probably not, like you mentioned. The top five are nailed on at the moment. Barnet, Wrexham, Chesterfield, Notts, Woking. Can't see anyone stopping them, like you mentioned. Best of the rest. Not much more needs to be said on them. But Solihull fifth. I can't really laugh at you on this because of my prediction of Solihull, and you probably were laughing at the start of the season when I had a massive explanation on why Solihull would finish in so-and-so position, which we'll come on to later. But it looks stupid now, my prediction. But yours was fifth, which is still not too good. But I don't know what the issue is at Solihull, to be honest, at the moment.
No, I mean, even they impressed me when we played them. I was impressed with them. They're well drilled. Individually, they've got some fantastic talent, and it's not just in the attack, which obviously is where the main bulk of the talent is, but they have got good players all over the pitch. So, and Ardley's obviously a good manager. So, yeah. I think that playoff hangover is real. I think I underestimated at the start of the season. Losing that playoff final has a detrimental effect, and we'll come on to Solihull in a minute. But yeah, I couldn't say more than that because they're not going to finish fifth.
No, they're not going to finish in playoffs unless they have a real momentous run towards the end of the season because, they're a side that are struggling. And I can't believe it. Like, I don't want to talk too much about them, but the quality in that side, I'd be expecting a lot more from them. I've been quite disappointed, especially with the manager they have at the helm at the moment. Next, we've got, you've put Bromley. And I've put Chesterfield. And honestly, I think a few Chesterfield fans gave me stick saying, we should be in the top three, blah, blah, blah. At the moment, they're fifth. So they're below that, and they've got Notts County tomorrow. So it's not too good down there at the moment, apart from the signing that they announced today in Paul McCallum. But firstly, starting with you, Bromley in fourth.
Yeah. Bad choice from me. I backed them to do really well this season. I actually agree with you. I don't think they're going to get the playoffs. I think they could quite comfortably. Any of those sides in that sort of mid-range could, but I don't think they will. I think they lack that bit of quality in the final third. Cheek and Marriott, I know you mentioned them. They've both been okay, but neither of them have been as good as they could be. They're a solid team, though. You said Stormley, I think he's fantastic. And Woodman is a good coach. He sets up his sides to be physical. That's how they play. But fourth, that is poor from me. I can only hold my hands up.
No. Oh, yeah. Well, I've had worse predictions. We'll come on to that in a second. But Chesterfield, the issue there, another one, is they've got no real prolific goal scorer, in my opinion. Quigley, you can't rely on him. They're hoping that issue's been resolved with bringing in Paul McCallum. Tishamanga hasn't, I think, been the same player since obviously he's returned. Obviously he's gone on to leave the club now. Was it Peterborough? I think he went to. Yeah. But yeah, he was a prolific goal scorer last season. I think I said at the start of the season, they're a different side. They won't rely on him like they did last season. And I don't think they have. But every side in and around the playoffs need a prolific goal scorer, and they haven't had that. Yes, Cole Clough, who's just joined the club, has got 7 goals this season. They've got King, Quigley's okay, Mandeville, Asante, another player that I really like, but doesn't seem to be hitting the back of the net, to be honest. But he's a player that I highly rate, a really good target man, player that we were linked with at the start of the season, but he's a good player too. But they just don't have anyone prolific, and I think they're hoping that Paul McCallum will be this source of goals for them going forward. But another issue is they have a good run of form, and then they suddenly slip up. They have 3 games where they'll be off the pace, like we've seen recently. It's often not against your Nottses, your Wrexhams. They took 4 points off them. It's against sides like Bournemouth, like Barnet, like Woking, who they've lost to Barnet, lost to Barnet by 3-0, lost to Bournemouth by a goal, lost to Woking at home. They're crucial games for them, and yeah, they certainly aren't doing too well at the moment, but yeah, obviously Notts County tomorrow at home. That's a massive game for them if they are wanting to break into the top 3, because I think that's going to be the aim for them now. I don't think they're in that title race anymore, unfortunately, from their perspective. Moving on then, we'll quickly read the chat. Someone's come in. Asante has struggled with injuries all year. That's probably been his main issue. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Third then, if it comes up here, we have got... you put Chesterfield, could still happen. That's probably their aim at the moment, to finish third. And this was quite a bad one, an out there one from me on Wrexham finishing third. That's definitely going to be wrong, mine. But yeah, you said Chesterfield third.
Yeah, well, I think you've covered it all to us, mate. I'll let you crack on with Wrexham because.
Cheers. But yeah, probably not the best one, to be honest, to talk about. I believe, yeah, Tom's internet's probably gone or something. But yeah, on Wrexham, there we go, he's back now. But yeah, obviously on Wrexham, I think I underestimated them. I think I probably now will be my favourites for the title. But yeah, Mullin, Palmer, Hayden, Tozer. Do I really need to talk about much more? They've proven that they've competed with Sheffield United, Coventry. They've competed with these sides, knocked Coventry out of the FA Cup, took in Sheffield United to a replay. Haven't won at the haven't lost at the racecourse throughout the whole season. I don't think they haven't dropped points at the racecourse all season. They have much more need to say, adding to the squad on a regular basis with pure quality. Yeah, they're my favourites to win the title, and I was wrong on this one. I can't really say anything else on that. Moving on to second then, if I can get it up here, we've got... we both agreed on your beloved Notts County, and I think we'll both be correct on this one, in my opinion, at the end of this season.
Yeah, I think we've got it pretty much spot on at the start of the season, and we can say it now again. We think Notts are an excellent side. They're just maybe lacking that little bit for the title. I went on record last night and said that I think they will win it, and I've got to stick to that now. I've officially changed my mind as of February the 9th it was. But, you know, it wouldn't shock me if they finished second. And as it stands, if Wrexham played their games in hand, Notts would be second, so we'd both be right. So I think we've done quite well here.
Yeah, I do. I think the squad on paper is a really good side. When I went to Notts County with Halifax, they looked a really good side. The difference is this season compared to previous seasons is they have, like I mentioned, probably all night now, they have prolific goal scoring, not just one but two, and other areas around the pitch where they can score goals as well at the moment. So yeah, really good side, a lot better defensively, and they're pulling out results against your Halifaxes who were putting 11 men behind the ball. You know, they're pulling out results against these sides where maybe on previous seasons they would have dropped points to a Halifax or another side that's lower down there. It's just going simply to try pick up a point. But yeah, I think come the end of the season they'll finish just about there. First place then, it doesn't seem to be loading, so I'll just remove it and then bring it back in. Some of you might have worked it out, but some of you are going to laugh at me in a moment. But obviously, we'll talk about your prediction, Tom. If it does come up, otherwise I might just have to say it. Yeah, I don't think it's going to actually load at the moment. But basically, the predictions was you put Wrexham to win the league title, and I put Solihull Moors to win the league title. Just quickly, on Solihull Moors, just to justify it, I looked at the players on paper: Kelly, Sabara, Dallas, and I looked at them last season. I think there was over probably 50 goals between themselves up throughout last season. Obviously, Kelly joining the side. They were good defensively last season, but I think I misjudged them having a playoff hangover. And the issue has been consistency. The first half of the season, or even the first 15, 20 games or so, they were looking really strong. They were looking like they'd definitely be a contender for playoffs. Maybe not the title. That prediction soon came to be a bit of a farce, to be honest. But yeah, I can't really say much more on that. I'm terribly wrong. I know a lot of people at the time said Solihull, Luca. I'll be amazed. But yeah, that's all I can really say on that, to be honest. I've got that terribly wrong. So I do apologise. But yeah, Tom, you put Wrexham top.
Yeah, well, I think first of all, I respect our brave your decision. I think we've got to take the risk sometimes, and didn't quite pay off. But I'll keep it brief on Wrexham. So I know we're going over an hour, but Wrexham, they could easily win the league. You think they will win it? I have pretty much all season said they will. Only recently changed my mind, but they have got that mentality. They never give up. They've got a team that seems to find a way to win. So you wouldn't bet against them, and I think come the end of the season, that could be one to get right as well.
Yeah, that most wraps it up then. Cheers to everyone that's tuned in tonight. We've had quite a large audience, especially for a Friday night. Cheers for coming on once again, Tom. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you next Thursday for another edition of the Talking National League podcast. Bye for now.
Cheers.